some investors have actually asked us about that. I think that a NOMA restaurant in San Francisco would be a restaurant working along the same ideas of creating very natural dishes. So that would be a wonderful idea also in San Francisco.
But Claus, why not have the concept that, if many people, we say, should we eat Italian or Indian tonight? Why not that people in San Francisco should we go to a Danish restaurant tonight?
You could do it.
You could do that everywhere on the globe.
Of course, you could go one step down and make a little more unambitious version of the NOMA thinking. Of course, there should also be Nordic restaurants in the rest of the world, just as we've got Vietnamese and American restaurants in our country. But the NOMA concept is very much about actually grasping nature at its best, and to bring in, and also caring for the planet and climate change and things like that. So flying in raw muskox slaughtered last week from the tundra of Greenland, or flying in fresh lobster from the cold waters of Norway wouldn't be the right thing to do according to the NOMA philosophy. But I think that this idea of working extremely locally, I mean, NOMA is, it's forbidden to serve any food based on any food produce from south of Denmark. And like every top restaurant that I visited in America, even the local ones, you find Italian ham, French olive oil, German wines. So I think that you could be a little more, that would be possible to be here with all your beautiful agricultural produce. We gladly hand over advice. The first year, food in NOMA, the first year was terrible, because we've forgotten to do what our grandmothers and grandfathers did in the past to make preserves. We've got a long, beautiful heritage, a tradition for preserving meat in salt, in fat, for preserving vegetables and fruits in brine, in vinegar, in different types of sugar syrups, and for digging big holes in the fields and putting root vegetables down there, and so we sort of started doing all this again. And that was one reason why we have a beautiful winter cuisine also. But then also, when you have access to every produce in the whole world, you can just bring in some ananas, some mango fruit, some kiwi from New Zealand when you have nothing in your own. Then you might not come up with the best food. Sometimes when you have to work on a very, very narrow field, you come up with genius things. So René, my partner, has invented desserts based on different types of caramelized sugar and grain and some late harvested apples that we just have forgotten in the past. So it seems difficult, but when you work with that deeply and profoundly, then you can come up with something that the world wouldn't have seen if you just taken the usual mango down from the shelf.
I had a meeting yesterday with some of the scientists working with pediatric obesity and their programs, and of course there are many barriers really to get. But I think why not? It could be started, and I think many of these initiatives actually come as a top-down approach. So there are opportunities, and of course the accessibility and the pricing and everything is quite important. But
I would say very clear that we can make it without the social networks, because the concept of cooking food for yourself is really in a war with a lot of other possibilities for spending time. And so the real question is, how do you create a movement for cooking now and then at home? And I think that social networks is definitely one way of having access to changing a lot of people's lives. Also, I would like to say that maybe a little bit of money could also do the job. We have, at a time, Arne and I looked upon, we have compared the number of money being invested in the marketing of shit. I mean, lousy food, fat dairy products, and all the leftovers from our conglomerate of slaughteries and dairies built in the 80s and 1990s. And if you look upon the numbers, how much is invested in forcing people or motivating them to buy shit, and how much is invested from the state in making people cook wonderful meals for themselves. It is very, very unbalanced. And I think it would go a long way if you just had some free money for communicating the concept of creating great meals yourself. With a little bit of money, you could get a long way, and an intelligent communication campaign using social networks. But a little bit of money would be nice. I mean, it would be a good investment for society. How much does it cost to repair on all these diseases? So take a little bit of that money and invest it in changing children's lives in time.
People would be leaner, less diabetes, and they would be happier. So it sounds like
I think we don't have the correct answer to that question. I think that every region, every nation has to define its own concept of locality. And I think it is more a question of creating a link between the producer and the consumer. So think of local as being a way of bridging the consumer and the producer. And whether it is 200 miles or 50 miles, it doesn't count that much. And we can't start producing carrots in the middle of San Francisco, I guess. Well, a little bit maybe, but not enough to feed the population. So locality is on the one hand a very concrete thing, but it is also symbolic in the sense that it is anti-Burger King, anti-McDonald's.
There's also a long way, a long distance from Greenland or northern Norway to Copenhagen.
Yeah, but I think the question is very good, because the best would be some very, very local coherent food systems. And where with a dairy producing milk and cheese and butter for 20,000 people, and a farm with a very diverse production, such as these farms worked 100 years ago. But it could be a big farm, but working with a local community. I think that we have some very, very small local things, a little farm making 5 kilos of cheese, and then we have got these huge industries. We need something in between. But I don't think it is the exactly same model that works for every country or state. No, I run a deli, and we do also deal with takeaway food there. So I can't say that I'm fundamentally against the concept of taking away food. But I think that in order to restore the cultural culinary capital, I think you have to sort of make children learn how to cook now and then. So to me it's not either or. But if you never cook a single meal, I think you totally lose contact to everything. Where things come from and to your own body. And you become less critical to whatever you buy out there in the takeout hell or heaven. So I think cooking is crucial to some extent.
You really need to rely on the person who's cooking for you, because otherwise you don't know what's in it. And if the diet composition is quite important, then you really need to know what's in it.
You need to be a good cook to be a critical takeaway consumer.
So maybe it's time for the